episode 358. I will be talking about tonight's episode of All Elite Wrestling Dynamite. All the action that took place right here, right now. 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Welcome, wrestling fans, to 360 Wrestling Fanatic. As always, I am your host, Lance Brock. Welcome and thank you for tuning in tonight here on Spreaker or wherever else you may be listening. Well, it's Wednesday night, and you know what that means. It is time to talk about a new episode of AEW Dynamite. And tonight's episode of Dynamite was live from Dayton, Ohio at the Nutter Center. Commentators Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and Taz. And we start the night off with a match that has been brewing, has been where one of their last matches, or their last match I should say, also took place in the state of Ohio in Cincinnati. But tonight we're in Dayton. Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page. And what a way to start off Dynamite tonight. And actually, I would say maybe to say that this was a hard-hitting match might be an understatement. This was definitely hard-hitting. Jon Moxley busted open, which happens to happen a lot in Jon Moxley matches. I'm sure most people that watch Dynamite on a regular basis are familiar with that. Great match from both of these guys, and it is Jon Moxley, or Hangman Adam Page, sneaking in a roll-up on Jon Moxley to get the win in this one. This match has been built for a while. Of course, everybody remembers, I'm sure, a little while back, the injury Hangman Page suffered in the match against Jon Moxley. And then Page hurting Moxley in the match that took place in Cincinnati. This was the third one, and Hangman getting the win. But once again, very good match between these two. Great way to start Dynamite off this week. And next up, we have the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Acclaimed. As always, Max Caster starts off with his rap. Yo, listen. And they defeat the Outrunners. Pretty much a squash match here, but I enjoy a good squash match sometimes. Especially when it's with a tag team as good as the Acclaimed. Max Caster gets the mic drop to get the win. And then they're celebrating the win with Billy Gunn in the ring, and then they are interrupted by the Guns, and they say they want a title shot at the AEW World Tag Team Championships. First, Maskcaster asks the fans there in Dayton if they feel that the Guns deserve a title shot, and the fans say no. So the Acclaimed turn them down, no title match, and then they start to get into it once again, and Billy Gunn has enough of it, and then he starts to leave. But then Austin Gunn gets on the mic, says, "Do what you always did, turn your back on us." And he finishes it by even saying, "Go drown your sorrows in a bottle of pills, just like you did when we were kids." Wow. And so Billy Gunn, after hearing this, gets very upset and gets back in the ring, gets in the face of Austin Gunn, and then finally he ends up agreeing to a tag team title shot on behalf of the Acclaimed. And actually, the Acclaimed, Maskcaster, and Anthony Bowens really don't look too happy about this. But it is, I guess, official now that the Acclaimed will be defending the AEW World Tag Team titles against the Guns. I don't remember though if they said it's next week or not, but they will be getting a title shot. And next up, Konosuke Takeshita defeats Brian Cage with a running knee. Very good match here. Very impressed with Takeshita, even though I have trouble saying his last name. That's just me though. And very good match here. And we see the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, defeat Timothy Thatcher. I was looking forward to this match all week, and it definitely did not disappoint. Just as good as I thought it would be with these two great wrestlers. Bryan Danielson, of course, one of my favorites, and Timothy Thatcher, you can't help but be impressed by him and his in-ring work. So very good match here. Bryan Danielson getting the win with a Bo Psycho knee. And also in the back we see Takeshita and MJF brawling in the back. And then we find out that per Tony Khan, that next week in a eliminator match, Konosuke Takeshita will take on the AEW World Champion Maxwell Jacob Friedman in one-on-one action. Speaking of eliminator matches, we will have another one with the AEW Women's Champion next week, Jamie Hayter, the Bunny. Those two will face off in another Elimination Chamber match. And we get an update on the condition of Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, after the attack backstage from Tony Storm and Saraya. And Ruby Soho comes up and checks on her, and then Britt pretty much says she's with them, and Ruby says she had nothing to do with that. So it kind of makes it seem like, as of right now, Ruby Soho might side with the AEW homegrown talent here. And our next match on Dynamite, as we continue, Jade Cargill defending not only the AEW TBS Championship, but also her undefeated streak, taking on Red Velvet. And this is actually a better match than I expected. Not that I thought it was going to be a bad match or anything, but it was actually pretty good. Main event here. And the finish of the match sees Jade Cargill get the win with Jaded to retain the AEW TBS champion and go 50-0 undefeated in her career in All Elite Wrestling. Very impressive. I know there are some people online, some of the internet wrestling fans who really don't care for Jade Cargill, don't think she's really that great, but honestly, I think she has improved since she has debuted in AEW. That's just me though. And now time for the main event of the evening. The AEW TNT Championship is on the line in a no-holds-barred match. Darby Allin versus Samoa Joe, the king of television. And this one was definitely a wild, hardcore, anything goes match. Darby, starting off, came out wearing a hoodie that was covered in thumbtacks. At one point, Samoa Joe is outside the ring holding a table, and then Darby kicks it into his face. And then I'm not sure what the name for it is, but that part that's on the bottom of the table, that's on the edges, catches Samoa Joe just above the eye, I believe, busts him open. Samoa Joe is now bloody at this point, and at one point Darby Allin even throws powder in the face of Joe, and Darby Allin goes outside the ring, starts cutting the ties to remove the canvas, and then takes away a couple of the pads under the ring to expose the boards. And while this is going on, Samoa Joe is on the other side of the ring, and you don't see it, but Excalibur explains on commentary that while Darby was doing that, Samoa Joe must have found a bottle of water to rinse his face off because the powder's gone, and you can see some of the blood is also gone from the face of Samoa Joe. They get back in the ring, and then Joe drives Darby Allin through a table that was outside the ring that Darby set up earlier in the match. And then back in the ring, Samoa Joe and Darby Allin on the top rope, and Samoa Joe hitting the muscle buster from the second rope onto the exposed wood to get the pin on Darby Allin to become a two-time AEW TNT champion your winner, Samoa Joe. Great main event tonight, I thought. And the finish with the muscle buster off the rope onto the exposed wood, which pretty much landed on the wood. Yes, where Darby landed, there was some of the canvas there, but he was still landing on the boards, because the part he did land on, even though there was a little bit of the canvas there, the mat was gone, so he still pretty much landed right on the wood. And I know there's some people who aren't wrestling fans that just say, oh, that ring is so soft. And that's normally just a thin layer of padding anyway. And so when you get rid of that and take a bump right on the boards, nothing at all soft about it. Even when that thin layer of padding is there, it's not soft. Even though some people who don't know anything about the pro wrestling business think it is, so they think, oh, it's just a trip there. I can't talk. Oh, it's just a trampoline, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Jim Ross always talks about how some idiot at home is saying, oh, those wrestlers know how to fall. Sure they do. So that was All Elite Wrestling Dynamite tonight from Dayton, Ohio. Very good show, like it usually is most weeks, and this week was no different. And in some news, real quick, Dirty Dango, formerly known as Fandango in WWE, has signed with Impact Wrestling. And Kenny King has signed a 1-year contract extension with Impact. So that's good news for Impact Wrestling. 2 talented wrestlers right there. And in other news, it's already been announced that I know February 18th is when WWE Biography and Rivals, and I want to say maybe Most Hidden Treasures, or Most Wanted Treasures, I should say, will be coming back on A&E. But it's also been announced now that in the spring, new seasons of those shows, plus a new Stone Cold Steve Austin series, will be debuting on A&E, and that show is Stone Cold Takes on America. That'll be debuting on A&E April 9th. But first in February, when the shows come back, for Legends Biography, the schedule is February 19th, the NWO, February 26th, Jake the Snake Roberts, March 5th, China, March 12th, Kane, March 19th, the Iron Sheik, March 26th, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and for WWE Rivals, February 19th, Hulk Hogan vs. Andre the Giant, February 26th, Undertaker vs. Mankind, March 5th, The Rock vs. John Cena, March 12th, Triple H vs. Batista, March 19th, Lita vs. Trish Stratus, March 26th, Roman Reigns vs. Brock Lesnar, April 9th, Stone Cold Steve Austin vs. Bret the Hitman Hart, April 16th, Stone Cold vs. Shawn Michaels, And that's what I have for those two shows coming up. So far, most of the biography episodes have been very good. There's a couple, especially with the Macho Man one, I didn't really care for. Didn't really like how they made Macho Man look in that one. And Rivals is an okay show, even though a lot of it is stuff that's been covered in other documentaries. But it's still pretty good though. And Hidden or Most Wanted Treasures, which was on when they first started these shows with A&E, and then when Top Dollar was released, they didn't bring it back. But now that him and Hit Row are back in WWE, I believe it's coming back. So that would be good to see. That was a good show, actually. The first season of it I enjoyed. So that is all for this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Thank you everyone for listening on Spreaker or wherever you listen to 360 Wrestling podcasts. Remember, tomorrow morning we'll be back with Good Morning Wrestling fans. It's an off Thursday, so no work tomorrow. I'm not sure what time the episode will be. Hopefully not as late as last off Thursday. But stay tuned and check up to hear the episode tomorrow morning. And hopefully not in the afternoon like the last off Thursday episode. That'll do it all for tonight's episode. Hope everyone enjoyed AEW Dynamite. Tomorrow we got Impact Wrestling, and then of course Friday night SmackDown and Rampage, and then Saturday NXT Vengeance Day. Got a little mixed up there. But until the next episode, I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.